Okay, so now on to the second part of this assignment. Actually, it's the next assignment. It's going to be 2.3. It's going to be about images and HTML. Things that we need to know is that it's the image that IMG is going to be the element that we're going to be dealing with. Also, we'll talk a little bit about the anchor element. This is the link that you saw at the very end of the last assignment. We'll cover that as well. Talked a little bit about division, just div. It's just generally a container that allows some code to stay in one place. And then, I don't know, I'll talk about iframe more extensively later, but just know that this is sort of like a division. Whenever you see code like this, by the way, in the assignments, this is an iframe. It's just bringing a little piece of another website in here. And it could be all kinds of different elements that we can bring in to HTML. But going back to images, first let's get an image that we can use. And you'll see, if you've read this through before, that I keep on talking about an image called kitten.jpg. And rather than just getting it from the files and using it, let's go somewhere and download it. Also, when you have the time, check out this common image files file type table. The most common images that we use, you probably already heard of a lot of these. I'm going to be using mostly JPEGs, which can end in JPG or JPEG. There's other extensions, but JPEG, these two are more common. Maybe dealing with GIFs a little bit, not that much though. Definitely some PNGs, some pings along the way. SVG probably later in the semester. There's other file types that will work. Make sure that you check to see what the browsers are compatible with what. JPEG and GIF, pretty much everybody can use. So let's find one image of a kitten somewhere. I do provide you with a link for Pixabay, which is a place where you can download images that are free of licensing. That's the link right there. And you can join and get an account and all that. I don't get much, if any spam from them. But you don't need to get an account to find images. Let me find a kitten with green eyes. Let me fix that. Eyes. Okay. And I think you may have seen this in one of my lectures already. I'll click on that. You can download multiple sizes here. I'm just going to get this. This is a preview image right here. I'm going to right click and say save image as, and I'll put it in my desktop on my Mac. Save it. And maybe I should have called it something else, but that's okay. I can always rename it from my desktop. Let me move some of these things out of the way, and let me bring in the image where I can see it. Yeah, it's called animal, etc., etc. I'll call this one kitten, and it's already a JPEG. So move this back, bring back my atom because I'll need it in a minute. And I can close this now that it's saved in my desktop. And I'm going to upload it to GitHub, to my repository. Let me select my repository and make sure that I am in the folder where I want this to be. Later on, we'll be creating special folders for each of the projects, but for now, it's just going to go generally into the week 2 folder. I can tell it to upload a file by saying add file and upload files. Then you can either choose your files and find them in your directory, or you can just drag the image to upload. So now it's on its way. And just like any other file in GitHub, you have to commit the changes. It's processing the files. And in week 2, inside of my repository, there is kitten.jpg. I can click on it to see what's going on. You'll see that GitHub, whenever you're looking at the archive, it calls it adds this blob to it. Just know that though this is going to be in your repository. Mine is ITSE 1411. and then the folder that it's inside week 02 and then kitten.jpg. So if I were to go to that website, I would see this image. I'm going to copy this as the address. It's also the address that you'll be seeing throughout the lesson. At the very bottom, for example, is itsc1411.github.io, and then slash for the folder that it's in, and then slash for the name of the file. Let me go back up. And just to try this out, let's see if I go into my Atom. You can do this also in GitHub, but in Atom, I don't have the index file. I deleted it in around the course of the last couple of days. You should already have an index file in there. If you do, open that up and work with it. If not, right-click in Atom and say New File. And inside of week 2, I'll create index.html. Here's the file, and just so that I don't lose it, I'll paste what I copied. If I were to publish this, nothing would happen. It's just a URL. Let me go back to the lesson. So when talking about including images to your page, we talked about the image anchor. Basically, here's what we're using. We're going to use that tag. Whenever using a tag, though, we open up an angle bracket and then give it the source. So angle bracket image source equals, and then inside quotes the URL itself. Really quick then, I will add that image tag. It's going to be bracket img and then space, and then give it the source equals, open the quotes, and at the very end close the quotes, and very importantly close the tag. Now this page right now is standing on its own. It doesn't have anything else to hold it up. If I were to publish it, it would just be a picture of a cat. I'll scroll up and go back a little bit in the lesson, because I know that I presented you with a quick HTML document that you can copy. So I'll copy this, all that coding, and I'll paste it inside of the document. I will get the code that I've already created with the image. Give me a little bit less space here. Here in the title, I will say that this is the, I don't know, I'll say this is a week 2 image. I have already an H1 that says that this is my web page. I'm going to say using an image in the page. Up to you what you want it to say. We're still not using a style sheet, so I'll just leave that alone. And here I'll add the image. Now, just like everything else, is reading from top to bottom, so I expect to see an H1, a rather large header there, and then just the image. The image will be probably a much larger size than I would expect it to be, since I copied it from another source, and I couldn't tell exactly how large it was going to be. While I'm doing this, I'm going to save my file, check my progress, and double click on the week 2 index and say added code and image, commit to master, and push to my server. And I get another error because, like I said, I've been dealing back and forth with files. I know that there's nothing in my folder. I checked it just before beginning this video. So I will press command. If you're in a PC, press control. If you need to force push, I will do that. It's going. And I'll go back to see my repository. I mean, I already know where this went, just so that you know that as reference, there's always the name of your repository, whatever week you're in. And now that this is actually an index page, you won't need to type it in after the end of the folder. So I can tell it to go to that folder right away. And I hit the H1 that says using an image in the page. Here's the kit. Now, like I said, this is pretty big. Later on, a little bit in the lesson, we talk about how to control some aspects of the image. We also need to add a description, but here you go. we can adjust the image that was used in this example to 600 by 700. Now this is almost a square, while I know that the image that we're using is more of a rectangle. However, we can use some of this code. I'm going to copy the alt text plus the width and height. Copy that, put it back into my code in Atom, inside of index.html, and I'll put it after the quote. So it's saying that it's getting from the source online that image, and then it's going to add an alternate description, which is right now something very generic, and then adding the width and height. Let me view this a little bit differently so that I can read the text. Let me do a soft wrap, and now I see that alt description of the image is, this is where I would say it's a kitten with green eyes. With 600 by 700, like I said, this is more of a square, but I will go ahead and publish this just so that you see what would happen if you have the wrong dimensions. I'll save, double click to stage it, then say inserted additional image comment, or rather tag, commit to master, and push it. Go back to the page, and hopefully that won't take long. If it does, I'll come back when it's done. I checked my email really quick, but I'm back. Let me reload this, and now I have the image, but you'll see that it's not quite what I want. Maybe if I were working in some sort of art project, but if I right click and view my page source, I see that it's 600 by 700. Now there's multiple ways, and there's additional tools that I could use to figure out exactly how large what the dimensions are for this image. But I know that I want it to be smaller than I have it, and it's definitely larger. Inside of my code, then, I can say the width, not quite 600, I'll say something a little bit more manageable, like 350. And for now, I will dispense the height so that I'll say just width is 350, the kitten with the green eyes. I'll even bring this back to the other line. Doesn't matter, but I just did it because it makes me feel better. I will save the file and stage it, and say corrected width of image, and commit and push. Something else that I could think about is that now that I have an index page that I can land into, maybe I would like to open up the Coding 101 file from here, and I know that I already wrote a link with an anchor on this page. I think that I put it up here somewhere though. There's the style, and let's see. No, maybe, I guess I only thought I had. Inside, I'll go back to the lesson. If you go up to the very bottom of the previous part of the assignment, where it says hint visit W3 schools for link information, I will click there and copy this code. This is how a link works. Basically, you have an A, it's an anchor tag that will need a reference to go to. It's going to be a URL that it will visit, and then some text to display. So I'll copy this and I'll bring it back to Atom. I'm in the index page for week 2. Below the kitten, I will put in this link. That basically right now all it says is nothing. It says that there's an anchor. We'll open up a paragraph so that it's got somewhere to live in, and then close it after that. The link text will say, since this is index, it will say visit my test page or something like that, because it's just some test HTML that we did before. The image, or rather the file that it will belong to, is this Coding 101. just so that I know it's going to be my username.github.io, and it's going to be inside of week 2, and it's going to be the coding 101. Just so that I'm sure this loaded up for me, I will copy or cut that address, come back to my Atom, and say the URL, replace it with the URL I just copied. I expect then to see the text visit my test page. It will be underlined and probably blue, and then when I click on it, it will take me to the coding 101. Since I'm doing that, I don't know where this /o came from. I probably typed it instead of /p. It's closing the paragraph. I'm going to copy this code and use it in coding 101. I'll put it over here on top of the footer, but after the order list, to say I know that this is coding 101, the page that I'm in right now. So if I tell it to visit the same page, it doesn't make much sense. I'll say go to the index.html, also inside of week 2. Let me be able to see all this with a soft wrap. So now I have the paragraph is referencing to the index.html, the main page, and says visit my, not my test page, but I'll say my kitten image page. Most of the time in my lessons I talk about random and senseless text. You can always change it to make more sense and with your own content. So I've now made changes to these 2 files. I'll just save all so that then I can go and stage all the files that have changed. I'll tell it to in the message say updated multiple files with links, commit, and push the files. I'll come back to my GitHub, see what I've got so far. Updated multiple files with links on week 2. And there's index and there's coding. You know what I don't see though? I think in all this mumbo jumbo, I deleted the kitten. Which would be tragic, but let's see what's going on. If I try to reload this, I get this kitten with green eyes, and notice how there's this broken link right next to it, and that's where the lesson ends. Right here it's saying a cute tabby cat with green eyes, and you see the broken link. It just means that there was a misspelling or a problem with the image's web address. So basically right now it's trying to load an image that's not there. Now the importance of this though is that although there's no image to load, we still are able to see the description that says kitten with green eyes. If you were a person that needed assistance reading the screen or have to be told what's on the screen, this is where the information plays a double role. It will help those with vision disabilities, and it will help those that are running into badly designed pages like this one. So I can fix this fairly quick. I need to bring back the kitten basically by re-uploading it. So I will go, I'm already on week 2. I will say add file, upload files, and drag it on and commit the changes. Oh, I have to wait for it to load. I was a little bit too quick. My computer is not that fast and my internet connection is terrible. So I'll commit the change. Now I know that the kitten should be there. I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers. I'll go back to my week 2 image. I will reload the file and hope that it's there. And there it is. It's also smaller, easier to see, you know, the simple bad design that it's got. It's got an H1 up here. It's got our image, which was actually brought down to size. And now there's a link that says visit my test page. And here's my test page. I go to the bottom, and did I save this? Visit my kitten image page, and it takes me back here. Now this is just very simple navigation, and it's just the beginning of hopefully your exposure to interactive pages. And Keep in mind that in the next lessons, we're going to start talking about styling and about designing and about making these pages into beautiful lines to highlight your content. Maybe, you want to have your resume, you want to have all your projects in one place. The URL that I need for this assignment is going to be your main page /week2/index.html. Just be sure to cut or copy that URL and put it in the comments for the assignment that is 2.3 rather, HTML images.